My stepson told his friends, "My real dad would never make me do chores like this loser." I heard it from the kitchen. That night, I moved out quietly. His mom called me crying when the mortgage payment she expected from me never came. I'm 38 years old, and I've been with my girlfriend Sarah for 3 years. She has a 15-year-old son named Jake from her old marriage. His real dad moved far away when Jake was 8 and only sends about $200 a month when he remembers. Sarah works part-time at a dentist's office and makes around $30,000 a year, while I make $95,000 a year as a project manager. When we moved in together 2 years ago, I started paying the mortgage on her house. The monthly payment is $2,200. I also pay for the power, water, food, and most of Jake's things, like his phone, clothes, and sports gear. Sarah wanted us to keep our money separate, and I said okay back then. But now I see that this setup mostly helped her while I was paying for everything. Jake and I had what I thought was an okay relationship. I never tried to be his dad, but I did expect him to be respectful and help with small chores, nothing crazy. Just things like taking out the trash, keeping his room clean, and helping with the yard on weekends. Sarah would often tell me I was being too strict or that Jake needed more time to get used to things. Last Saturday afternoon, I was in the kitchen making lunch when Jake's 3 friends came over. They were hanging out in the living room, and Jake was loudly complaining about raking leaves earlier that morning. I wasn't trying to spy, but the house has thin walls and they weren't being quiet. One of his friends asked why Jake had to do chores when his mom's boyfriend was home. Jake said something that really hurt me. He said, "My real dad would never make me do chores like this loser. This guy thinks he can boss me around just because he pays for stuff. My mom says I don't have to listen to him anyway." His friends laughed, and one of them said Jake was lucky to have someone paying for everything while he could just do whatever. Jake agreed and said his mom told him I wasn't going anywhere because I was too invested in their situation. They kept talking, and Jake made fun of how I tried to make house rules and how his mom always took his side. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes listening to this kid say mean things while his friends backed him up. What hurt the most wasn't just what Jake said. It was hearing that Sarah was also talking bad about me and didn't support me at all. The words "too invested" stuck in my head. It made me feel like they thought I was trapped, not like I really cared. That night, I didn't say anything to either of them. I acted totally normal at dinner and through our usual Saturday night stuff. Sarah went to sleep around 10:30, and Jake was in his room with his video games and headphones. I spent the next 4 hours quietly packing my important stuff into my car. Clothes, papers, my laptop, and other personal things. I left a note on the kitchen counter saying I heard Jake's talk and I couldn't stay in a place where I was seen as just a money guy, not part of the family. I wrote that I wished them both well, but I wasn't paying for anything anymore. I also said I'd be staying at my brother's place for now and would come back for the rest of my stuff later. By Sunday evening, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Sarah called 17 times between 6 p.m. and midnight. Her messages went from confused to mad to begging. She said Jake didn't really mean it, that he was just trying to act cool in front of his friends, and I was making too big a deal over teen stuff. I texted her one time, saying I need space and would talk when I was ready. Then I blocked her number for a while to stop her from trying to mess with my feelings. On Monday morning, I called my bank and took Sarah off my checking account. I also called the place that handles the house payments to check if my name was on the loan. Luckily, it wasn't. Sarah had changed the loan into her name alone about 6 months before we moved in together. I didn't think much about that at the time. Update 1, posted 1 week later. The house payment was due on the 1st, and by the 5th, Sarah got in touch with me through a friend we both know. She sent a panicked message saying she didn't have enough money to pay the mortgage and begged me to change my mind. She said she talked to Jake and he felt really bad and wanted to say sorry. I replied saying thanks for reaching out, but my choice was final. I had already started looking for apartments and had paid to hold a 1-bedroom place across town. Sarah's sister called me on Thursday night saying Sarah was having panic attacks over losing the house. The sister tried to make me feel bad for leaving a single mom and her kid. But I calmly said that I had been paying for them for 2 years and was still treated like I didn't belong. On Friday night, Sarah came to my brother's house. My brother opened the door and told her I didn't want to see her, but she was crying and begged him to let her talk to me. Even though I didn't want to, I agreed to talk to her on the porch. Sarah looked really tired, like she hadn't slept at all. She said she was wrong to not back me up with Jake and had gotten too used to me paying for everything. She offered to put my name on the house and asked if we could go to couples therapy. I listened to all of it, then said the problem wasn't just about chores or Jake's behavior. The real issue was that she made me feel like I was just there to pay for things and not have a say in the house. I told her I cared about both of them, but I couldn't keep being treated like someone renting a room at a high price. She asked what it would take for me to come back. I told her nothing would change my mind. I had already signed papers for my new place and would move in next week. Update 2, posted 3 weeks later. I moved into my new apartment 2 weeks ago. It's smaller than I'm used to, but it's quiet and all mine. I'm saving about $3,000 a month now that I'm not paying for Sarah's house. Sarah kept trying to reach me through her family and mutual friends. She even had Jake call my work number, which was too far. I told Jake I wished him well, but I couldn't stay where I was being disrespected. Jake seemed really surprised I wasn't coming back. He said he thought I was just trying to scare his mom and would come back soon. I told him that what he said had real consequences. He started crying and said he didn't mean it. I told him I believed he was sorry, but sorry didn't fix what happened. Sarah got even more desperate when she saw I wasn't changing her mind. She started telling people I left without warning. She left out the part where Jake said mean things and how she never supported me. The house people started foreclosure because Sarah missed the second payment. She called me crying, saying she'd have to move Jake out of his school and into a small apartment. I felt bad for Jake, but I reminded myself these were the results of how I was treated. Sarah's mom called me last week and tried something different. She said Sarah had depended on me too much and that Jake grew up thinking he didn't have the respect his mom's boyfriends. She asked if I'd help with just the house payments until Sarah could find a cheaper place. I thanked her for being honest, but I said I couldn't help with money anymore. I had already done too much, and helping now would only make the same problem keep going. Update 3, posted 2 months later. Sarah lost the house last month and moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Jake had to switch schools and stop doing his fun activities because Sarah couldn't pay for them anymore. Some friends told me Jake was mad and blamed me for ruining his life. Sarah tried to blame me too, but most people who knew the full story said I was more than generous. Some even said they were surprised I didn't leave sooner. Jake had a hard time when he saw what life was like without my help. His real dad didn't step up, even though Jake used to say how great he was. Their spring break trip got canceled because Sarah couldn't afford it anymore. I'm not happy Jake had to change schools or lose fun stuff, but these things happened because of how they treated me. I tried for 3 years to be a good role model, but I kept getting pushed aside. I started dating again and met someone with 2 kids from her past marriage. The way she parents and respects me is totally different. She actually asks what I think when making house decisions and supports me when I ask her kids to help out. Sarah texted me from a new number 2 weeks ago, saying she learned from her mistakes and wanted to try again. I didn't reply. I've moved on and don't want to go back. Final update, posted 4 months later. It's been about 5 months since I moved out for good. Sarah and Jake are settled in their apartment, and I heard Jake is doing okay at his new school. Sarah is working more hours and getting by, though money is tight. A friend told me Jake recently said he wished he never said those things about me. It seems like he now understands that having a stepdad who cared was better than having no dad at all. His real dad still sends that random $200, but doesn't help more than that. Sarah tried one more time to reach out through her sister, asking if I'd meet for coffee and talk. I said no. I've learned that sometimes being kind means keeping distance, even when it's hard. The woman I'm dating now and I are getting serious. She introduced me to her ex-husband, and we get along. He respects my role in his kids' lives, and they treat me with the respect I never got from Jake. Now I see what a healthy stepfamily really looks like. Looking back, I know I stayed too long trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. Sarah never saw me as a real partner in raising Jake, just someone to pay the bills. I'm glad I finally saw my own worth and walked away. Leaving wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was realizing that some people only value you for what you give, not who you are. But I've learned that making boundaries isn't mean. It's important to protect yourself and find relationships built on real respect, not just money.